Welcome back. Welcome back, Israel. We are continuing our study in Genesis. We are now in chapter 39. We'll be looking at Joseph's sojourn into Egypt. Now, a couple of points about Joseph that we should understand. Joseph's sojourn into a foreign land that he didn't know the language of, he wasn't familiar with, and he was sold into slavery into that land should be familiar to us, right? Should be familiar to us who have been former slaves. We are descendants of former slaves, so we understand concept of being taken from your land, being taken into slavery, being taken into a foreign land that you don't speak the language of. You're not part of the culture, and that land never intends for you to be part of the culture in terms of succeeding, in terms of being equal with the ones that enslaved you. In Joseph's case, we also understand a couple of other ancillary points that are important, so such that number one, his brothers sold him into slavery. It wasn't that the Egyptians came into Canaan and kidnapped him. His brothers sold him into slavery. Number two, there was a divine purpose in that. Well, there's a divine purpose in our enslavement as well. But the difference between Joseph and us, very important difference, is that Joseph knew who his real father was, where he came from, what his real language was that they spoke, what their culture was, and most importantly, he knew who his God was. All of these things were missing from us when we were taken beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. When we were chased off of the land of our fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob appointed that land. We were chased off of that land because of the sins of our fathers. We were in, by and large, Africa, what is known as Africa, though people were scattered to different places, but we were by and large in Africa as we had been used to running through the land of Ham. We eventually became Muslims. For the most part, the majority of us lost our identity in terms of who we were as Hebrews and the God that we worshiped as Hebrews. And over the course of centuries, when Islam was developed in the 7th century AD, after that, Islam spread throughout the parts of the earth that are now considered African and so-called Middle East. It spread, and it spread rapidly. And part of that spread was the conversion of us as being followers of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to becoming followers of an Arab God named Allah. We also were part of the development of African kingdoms that were Islamic kingdoms. The African Islamic kingdom of Mali, the Ghanaian empire that included Timbuktu were Islamic empires. They came after we went into Africa and we were converted to Islam. From that position, former Hebrews, well, we were still Hebrews, but former inhabitants of the land of the Hebrews and the culture of the Hebrews and the language of the Hebrews and the God of the Hebrews, we became inhabitants of a land of the culture of the Arabs and Islam and the God of the Arabs and Allah. We were taken from there, as the Bible showed us again in Joel chapter 3, which we looked at last night, but it's very important we see it for what it's telling us it is. In Joel chapter 3, beginning at verse 1 and reading from verse 1 down to verse 7. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? If ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. And the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the land of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for Yahweh have spoken it. So Hamites, Sidon, and the Palestine, that's Hamites, that's Philistine, Hamites, Tyre, that's Hamitic. And of course, we know that the Grecians are Japhetic. So we were sold by both of them into slavery. And at first, we knew who we were. We knew what tribe we came from. Even as the Malian Empire, the Ghanaian Empire developed, and Islam, we still knew who we were. It wasn't until we were taken by the children of Japhet and brought across the Atlantic, and taken by the Arabs into slavery and brought across the Sahara, that we started to lose who we were as a people, lose the knowledge of ourselves, lose the knowledge of our God, of our history, of who we worship, what our culture was. We started to lose it. Again, second witness is Isaiah chapter 18. Isaiah chapter 18, the second witness, Isaiah chapter 18. Isaiah 18 speaks, it brings a woe to a specific land. And listen carefully to who the land is that are receiving a woe from the prophet, the Israelite, Hebrew Israelite prophet, Isaiah, from the Most High. This is Isaiah chapter 18. I'm going to read from verse 1. Let's see. I'm going to read, well, it's only 7 verses. So let's read the whole thing from verse 1 to 7. Woe to the land shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. So there's a land Isaiah is talking about that is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, which we know now as Africa. Beyond the rivers of Africa, there's a land, and a woe is being placed on that land. That sendeth ambassadors by the sea, even in vessels of bulrushes upon the water, saying, Go, ye swift messengers, to a nation scattered and peeled, to a people terrible from their beginning hitherto, a nation meted out and trodden down, whose land the rivers have spoiled. So the ambassadors from this land that's beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, they're ambassadors, they're messengers coming from the sea, and they're coming and they're saying, go get the people that's in this land that have been scattered and peeled. Go get the people that were terrible in their beginning, but they've been trodden down. Go get that people. Send your messengers, your ambassadors, and go get that people. Woe to that land, Isaiah says. And all ye inhabitants of the world and dwellers of the earth, see ye, when he lifted up an ensign to the mountains, and when he bloweth a trumpet, hear ye. For so Yahweh said unto me, I will take my rest, and I will consider in my dwelling place like a clear heat upon herbs, like a cloud of dew in the heat of harvest. For afore the harvest, when the bud is perfect, and the sour grape is ripening in the flower, he shall both cut off the sprigs with the pruning hooks, and take away and cut down the branches. They shall be left together unto the fowls of the mountains, and to the beasts of the earth. And the fowls shall summer upon them, and all the beasts of the earth shall winter upon them. In that time shall the present be brought unto Yahweh of hosts, of a people scattered and peeled, and from a people terrible from their beginning hitherto, a nation meted out and trodden underfoot, whose land the rivers have spoiled, to the place of the name of Yahweh of hosts, the Mount Zion. In case you didn't know who he was talking about, he talked about the people of Zion. being peeled and scattered, and peoples beyond the river of Ethiopia having a woe placed on them for sending ambassadors and bringing them to get the people peeled and scattered and trodden down from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Zephaniah, our third witness. Isaiah, Joel, now Zephaniah, our third witness. Mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. Zephaniah chapter 3. Zephaniah chapter 3. I'm going to read from Zephaniah chapter 3 from verse 8 down to verse 13. Zephaniah chapter 3 from verse 8 down to verse 13. Therefore, wait ye upon me, saith Yahweh, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. For then will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may call upon the name of Yahweh to serve him with one consent. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring mine offering. In that day shalt thou not be ashamed for all thy doings wherein thou hast transgressed against me. For then will I take away out of the midst of thee them that rejoice in thy pride, and thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountain. I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of Yahweh. The remnant of Israel, that's the poor and afflicted people. The remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity, nor speak lies, neither shall the deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. For they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. So we can see our situation is a little bit different than Joseph, or should I say a lot different, in that Joseph was sold into slavery, into a land of people that he didn't know their language. But Joseph knew who he was. Joseph knew his name. Joseph knew his daddy and his family. And most of all, Joseph knew where he came from, and he knew his God. So that Joseph was really a forerunner for the rest of our fathers at that time. Whereas us, we were not forerunners. We were just scattered, taken into slavery, and taken our God, our name, our culture taken from us, and forced upon us the God of the children of Yefet, the language of the children of Yefet. You know, it's interesting. I saw an interesting video today for the first time. I saw this video where a man that was Puerto Rican was saying that he's black. And he didn't understand how Puerto Ricans can say that they're black. And they said, he asked a Puerto Rican, "Are you black?" And they said, "No, I'm Spanish." And he would say, "No, Spanish is a language. That's not who you are." And he said, based on that logic, all of the black people in America should call themselves British because they speak English. Are we English because we speak English? So you're not Spanish because you speak Spanish. So what are you? And they said, well, we're Latins. No, Latin came from the Europeans. Are you European because you're Latin? No, Latin is a culture. That's not who you are. I'm Boricua. Boricua is another name for Puerto Rico. That's not who you are. Where you come from. Who are you? Finally, he said, you come from Africa. And that the Tainos and the Africans have very similar DNA. Like they come from the same place. The Spanish are the ones that raped you. And he says, so just like the black people in America can't call themselves British just because they have British blood or English blood, they were raped by those people, but that's not who they are. You're Puerto Ricans. You're also black. And as we know now, Puerto Ricans, Haitians, Dominicans, Cubans, Trinidadians, St. Thomas, Bahamas, Grenada, You're all black. You're all Hebrew. Because that's where you come from. And the thing is, most of the people of all of those places have no idea who they are. And that's the major difference between us and Joseph. Although we can understand where he's coming from, we're in totally different situations because Joseph completely knew who he was, just like Daniel. Daniel was brought to Babylon, but Daniel knew who his real name was. They called him Belteshazzar, but he knew his real name. He knew who his God was. He knew who his father, who his mother, where he came from. He knew everything about himself, his history, his culture, though he was in Babylon. We don't. We are now awakening as to who we are. We're awakening as to what our culture was. We're awakening as to who our God is. We're awakening as to what language we would speak or we used to speak. Although we still don't have it all, we know we're going to get it all back because of the promises of the word. Joseph was a forerunner of the nation. He was chosen as a forerunner of the nation. And it makes sense because Joseph was the one that received the blessing of the firstborn. He should be the leader. It's almost like he's the oldest. Reuben was really the oldest, but Joseph was the oldest from Rachel's children. Right. That's right. That's right, Sister Dan. But Joseph was the leader. That's why his father gave him the coat of many colors. He was going to receive the blessing of the firstborn. So it was right that he should go first and lead his nation. Okay. And that's what he did. Praise the Most High. So here we're looking at the beginning of his sojourn in Egypt to lead his people. Here he is. He's 17 years old. 17. He's a boy. He's 17 years old. And he's been made to be brought into the house of Potiphar, who the Bible tells us was the captain of the guard of the Egyptian army, Egyptian guards, of the Pharaoh guards, Pharaoh's royal guards, put it that way. Pharaoh's royal guards, he was the captain of Pharaoh's royal guards, Potiphar. Okay, so he's 17 years old. He's a boy, and he's brought from the land of the heat. Well, really, it's the land of Canaan, right? It wasn't even, they didn't even have a land. They were strangers in that land. But he had a family. He knew who his family was. He knew his family history. He knew that his father's name was Yasher-al. He also knew that his family, his father and his grandfather and his great-grandfather was chosen by the Creator to be the founding fathers of a nation. He knew this. And so here he is, 17 years old in the land of Ham. Okay? Genesis chapter 39. Genesis chapter 39, beginning at verse 1 and going down to verse 4. Genesis chapter 39 from 1 to 4. Some very interesting things come out here. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt. And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him into the hands of the Ishmaelites, of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And Yahweh was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man. And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that Yahweh was with him, and that Yahweh made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Yahweh found grace in his sight and served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had, he put into his hand. Now, as father led Joseph to the land of Mizraim and put him into the captain of the guard of the Mizraim, his father led him there, put him there. Father made a distinction between him and everybody else, and made him the prophet, made everybody to see there was something special about this kid. This kid here, this 17-year-old kid here, there's something special about him. And of course, Potiphar seeing that wasn't just because Joseph was special in the sense that he had gifts or whatever. It's because Joseph made Potiphar prosper. Joseph's presence made Potiphar be blessed. Okay. Isn't that something? His presence made Potiphar be blessed. And because of the blessing, just like Laban wanted to keep Jacob around, because Jacob, while Jacob was with Laban, Laban prospered, right? Until the time came that it was time for Jacob to prosper and go back to his father and mother's house. Then Jacob started prospering and Laban was suffering. And the father told Laban, don't touch him now. Don't say nothing to him. Well, brethren, there is parallels, isn't there? As we are now awakening as to who we are, the Father is pouring upon us the most precious gift of all, his Spirit. He's pouring his Spirit upon us, and they will be made a difference between us and the rest of the folks in the fact that we have his Spirit. And isn't that what Moses said? He said, if your presence doesn't go with us, don't send us anywhere. I'm paraphrasing. Because the only difference between us and everybody else on planet Earth is that your presence is with us, brethren. As we are awakening, and we are being awakened, they make no mistake. I think y'all could bear witness. We're being awakened. As we are being awakened, what's awakening us is the Father's Spirit. The Father's Spirit will make us distinct from all the rest of the folks. It's not about the money. It's not about land acquisition. It's not about prospering in Babylon. The Father's Spirit will make the difference. The Father's Spirit will guide us in paths where we should go and bless our way. The Father's Spirit will be seen upon us so that there'll be others that are not of our bloodline that cleave to us and want to be with us and end up with us because they can see the Father's Spirit with us. Isn't that what Zechariah said? Wait a minute. Zechariah. You know, we like to bring witnesses wherever we can, right? You know we like to bring witnesses. Zechariah chapter 8. Zechariah chapter 8. I'm going to start at verse 20. Zechariah chapter 8, verse 20 down to verse 23. Zechariah, first witness. Well, Moses gave us a witness, didn't he, in Genesis? But Zechariah chapter 8, more to the point, from verse 20 to verse 23. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, it shall yet come to pass that there shall come people and inhabitants of many cities. And the inhabitant of one city shall go to another, saying, let us go speedily to pray before Yahweh, and to seek Yahweh of hosts. I will go also. Yea, many people and strong nations shall come to seek Yahweh of hosts in Jerusalem, and to pray before Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that the Most High is with you. Isaiah. 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 All right, there's too many in Isaiah, but I'm going to have to pick one. Let's go chapter 60. Isaiah chapter 60, second witness. Isaiah chapter 60, beginning at verse 1. Isaiah chapter 60, beginning at verse 1 and going down to verse 5. Isaiah chapter 60, from verse 1 to 5. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of Yahweh is risen upon thee. That's you Israelites. That's his Spirit. For behold, darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But Yahweh shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about and see. All they gather themselves together, they shall come to thee. Thy sons shall come from far, and thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. Then thou shalt see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. Witness too. You're catching it? Yes, so as Joseph was shown to be different, and Pharaoh and Potiphar was like, wait a minute, we got to keep this kid, man. We getting blessed because of this kid. Just so, brethren, just so you and I, as we are continuing to seek the Father and continuing to be blessed with his spirit, it'll be known. And people that are also sincere in their hearts as far as truth, we'll say, we're going to take hold of you. We're going to be with you because we know the Most High is with you. Not everybody, but a lot of people. Praise the Most High. A lot of people going to recognize the Hebrews, going to recognize the Spirit upon them, going to recognize and come to them and continue to be with them. Praise the Most High. Wait a minute. Third witness. Ezekiel. I like this one. Ezekiel chapter, where is it? 47. Ezekiel chapter 47. Ezekiel chapter 47. I'm going to begin at verse 21 and go down from verse 21 to verse 23 of Ezekiel chapter 47. Ezekiel chapter 47 from verse 21 to verse 23. Wait, I got one more after this. Ezekiel chapter 47 from verse 21 to verse 23. So shall ye divide this land unto you according to the tribes of Israel. Talking about the promised land. And it shall come to pass that ye shall divide it by lot for an inheritance unto you, and to the strangers that sojourn among you, which shall beget children among you, and they shall be unto you as born in the country among the children of Israel. They shall have inheritance with you among the tribes of Israel. And it shall come to pass that in what tribe the stranger sojourneth, there shall ye give him his inheritance, saith the Most High Yahweh. Yes, they're going to recognize who we are, that there's a blessing, and they're going to come. And of course, in the kingdom, which is being described there, the same kingdom being described in Revelation chapter 21. Revelation chapter 21. Revelation 21. Verse 24 to 27. Revelation chapter 21 from verse 24 to 27. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it. Talking about the city. And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations, that's the Gentiles, into it. And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth, and neither whatsoever worketh abomination or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. And there's more, but y'all get the picture. As Joseph was shown to be a blessing to Potiphar, to be different from the people that were brought into that land, so as we continue to be poured with the Father's Spirit upon us, so as we continue to develop and grow in the glory of the Father, so will we be shown unto those who need to see it and bear witness to the Father's righteousness that will come to us and say, no, we're going to be with you. We want to hang out with y'all because we could tell the Father's with you. Praise the Most High. Back to Genesis chapter 39. Let's see, we stopped off at verse 4. Okay, verse 5. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that Yahweh blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of Yahweh was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. So Joseph was a handsome Hebrew and prosperous, but he was still a slave. But he was handsome Hebrew, prosperous Hebrew. Everything he touched, his father, his heavenly father, and our heavenly father blessed him, to the point that the Mizraim, the Hamites, said, listen, man, I don't even need to know. Just let Joseph handle it. I don't even need to know. Just let Joseph handle it. Joseph got it. Just let him do his thing. So, of course, there would come a temptation. Now, for Joseph, a slave, 17 years old, coming into his manhood, brothers, y'all remember what it was like when you're 17, 18, and 19? You remember how you felt? People take pills to feel like that now. Isn't that right? But you didn't need no pills when you were 17, 18, and 19. And here's Joseph, a slave. He's in Potiphar's house. And the queen of the house said, come. I need you to do a little more than just keep house, brother. Now, there's a couple of things we know. For every man, now, brethren, the sisters know. Yes, sisters understand. Sisters of Israel are the representations of the nation. They are the dignity and the honor of the nation. You sisters, you are the dignity and honor of the nation. How you carry yourself reflects on the nation. No doubt. But make no mistake, the nation, the 144,000, the forerunners are the men. And your support of the men includes you carrying yourself with dignity and your respect to the brothers. And brothers carrying themselves with honor also as men of Israel. You're going to be tempted, obviously, to dishonor yourself. Now, we know the sexual temptation, obviously. There's a sexual temptation, obviously, of a man. Obviously. Especially you've been given authority. Look at him. He's a slave, but he's been given authority in part of his house. Everybody answers to Joseph. Easy to get carried away with that. Easy. Even Daniel didn't have that because Daniel was made a eunuch. But David, of course, we know. So it's easy to get carried away. Okay? But we must always remember who we are and who our God is. And never take upon ourselves to be more than that. Servants of the Father Yah, to give him glory. Okay? Also, a woman not only represents the nation, but woman represents what? A religion, a God, something you're following. An assembly is represented as a woman. A nation is represented as a woman. And you have also allegiance to whores. Spirit in the spirit. The great whore is a woman. Allegiance to her is against our Heavenly Father. So we must be careful because why? Brothers, you're not only going to be tempted physically, as you are seeking to represent the Father, you'll be tempted by Babylon. Now, many people don't understand Babylon, but I'm not talking to just any people. I'm talking to Hebrew Israelites that have read the Bible, that understand who Babylon is. You'll be tempted. They'll be trying to bribe you at first. They won't threaten you right away. You know, the mark of the beast and the image of the beast and the death decree, that comes later. That comes after they've tried to bribe you over and you said no. Here's Joseph. Verse 7. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. This is a powerful statement in my view. You know, brothers and sisters, and brothers, let me start with you first. You ever see the power of a beautiful woman that looks at you a certain way? That casts her eye at you? Like, there's just a way a woman could look at you. And it will cause you pause when she decides to cast her eye at you. You don't even got to chase one sometimes. They decide to look at you a certain way, and it causes you to pause. I'm not saying you're going to fall by it, but it causes you to pause. And you got to, at that time, make a decision, right? You usually make the right decision. Okay, I'm not going that way, but it causes you to pause because she casts her eye at you. Now, imagine now you're a teenager. You're 17, 18, 19 years old, and a beautiful woman with money casts her eye at you. That's a temptation. That no joke, that's a temptation. Okay? But Joseph was there serving Father Yah. Now, she cast her eye and said, lie with me. Okay? Made it plain what she was looking for. Verse 8, but he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master was not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against the Most High? He plainly answered. You know, it was very similar to when the devil came to Messiah. How did the Messiah answer? It is written, thus saith Yahweh. What did Joseph say? I cannot sin against my heavenly Father after he's done this for me. He recounted the blessings and recounted his allegiance, his what's the word I'm looking for? His obligation to serve the heavenly Father. And he refused. Praise the Most High, brethren. That's really, how we go about this business. We understand this is a temptation, but we also understand who are we here to do. We're here to glorify our Heavenly Father. Our Heavenly Father puts us in a position. Our Heavenly Father allows a temptation to come upon us. That was allowed to happen. And we also got to remember when we're tempted, it's allowed to happen, but we must make a choice for Father. Consciously by his Spirit. Praise the Most High. How can I do this great wickedness and sin against the Most High? And it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day. It wasn't just one time. She wasn't giving up. She was basically stalking our brother. That he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, see, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us. And he came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. Let me ask you all a question. Y'all think there's been a lot of brothers that has lain with the enemy's woman and she cried rape and caused him to be killed, hanged, put to death, or just imprisoned? Has that ever happened where the enemy's woman didn't want it to be known that she was lusting after this brother, and the brother gave into her, may have gave into her, and something went wrong. Maybe she got busted by the master. Maybe she got busted by her people. And now she denies he raped. She said, he raped me. Or maybe she loved him and he had sex with her and decided, I don't want to be with you no more. He raped me. Has that happened? Brethren, Joseph is the forerunner. He didn't even touch the woman. And she claimed rape. Brethren, this has happened many times. Many times. Be careful. Be careful, brothers. Be careful. And y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. For us in the modern times, it has usually happened after the fact. Like the woman's been having sex with you. And you just somehow the situation gets to the point where you decide to back out. You don't want it no more. She ain't finished yet. And you finish, and then it's rape. Then it's rape. Remember with Malcolm X, in the movie Malcolm X? He is having sex. He's having an ongoing relationship with one of the children of Yafet's women, which was completely against culture at that time. Enough so that he could be put to death for it, right? Matter of fact, in the movie Malcolm X, they let it be known. He said, at least Spike Lee wrote it, that the reason he was being put in jail for so many years wasn't because he was robbing houses, it's because he was sleeping with white women, because they was also involved with the crime that he was committing. But they didn't get no time like that. He did, though. And he was asking her, when you gonna cry rape? Because it was in the back of his mind. When you gonna cry rape? She said, I ain't gonna cry rape. When you gonna cry rape? And this is the thing. I am not by any means saying that all the so-called white women will do that. This age is a little bit different, although there's a lot of similarities still. But what I am saying is, if it's happened so much to, let me be conservative and say hundreds of our brothers, right? Let's say hundreds of our brothers have been either lynched, raped, put in jail, or punished somehow for a false accusation from a children of Yafet woman, a so-called white woman, for rape. I can say that, right? I'm not saying it's millions. I'm not even saying it's thousands. Let's say hundreds. Let's say hundreds of brothers have been put in bad positions because of the false accusation, even unto this day, because of false accusations by white women. What I'm saying is, how would we know the difference between one that's going to say that and one that's not going to say that? That's all I'm saying. Only way you would know the difference is, to me, if the woman joined with the nation. If the woman was coming to the nation as a Hebrew, if she was coming into the nation and she was joining the nation, that's an open, you're getting baptized, you're taking profession, you're standing with the Hebrews. That's the only way you're going to know, because then if she cried rape after that, her cousins may not take her too seriously because she joined with the Hebrews. You understand? But if she joined with the Hebrews, she under the spirit of the Father, she's committing to walking with the Israelites at that point. You understand? That's kind of the only way you can know. But aside from that, seriously though, brothers, you taking a risk, right? Even right now, you're taking a risk. You're taking a risk. Because it's hard to tell. Muhammad Ali was being interviewed by a British television show. And the man said, not all white people, are devils. And Muhammad Ali said, you're probably right. But he said, if you open the door and 10,000 snakes came at me and they were going to kill me, they're poisonous. But you say within the 10,000 snakes, there's some that won't hurt me. How would I know the difference between the ones that won't hurt me and the ones that are trying to kill me? And that illustrates the situation very well. How will we know the difference? That's why I say, just be careful and make sure you're being led by the Heavenly Father. And again, I'm not trying to say all white women are devils or they're all going to cry rape. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying because it's happened so much, how would we know the difference? How would we, in fairness, just because you say I'm not like the others, does that mean you're not like the others? Just because you say it, does that mean that? Be careful, because this scenario here is still happening even now. This scenario here. And this sister wasn't a child of Yafet. She was a Hamite sister, but she was a woman in power that was not a Hebrew. And she had authority over the Hebrew. Let me explain something to y'all if you didn't know. The pecking order in the United States of America, I'm not sure, but I think it's British also. But here's the pecking order. It's black man, it's white man, so-called white man, white woman, black woman, black man. That's the pecking order in the culture that we're in. That's the pecking order. It's white man, white woman, black woman, black man. That's the pecking order. So the one that will be most to blame is black man. The one that will be least suspected is white man. And in the middle is white woman and black woman. That's the pecking order, if you didn't understand that. So even in 2023, you best be careful what you're dealing with. You better be careful who you, and this goes for everybody. Be careful who you're sleeping with. And daggone sure be careful who you have babies with. And be careful who you decide to marry. Be very careful. It cost you your life. It cost you your life. Be very careful. And we definitely need prayer and the Father's Spirit to guide our steps in these decisions. We can control who we decide to sleep with. We can control who we decide to marry. Sometimes you can't control who you have babies with, even though they give you even that today. But you can control who you decide to have sex with, and you can control who you decide that's going to be your spouse. Be very careful with that choice. That's an extremely powerful choice you have. That's an extremely high power that you have. Your choice there. Be very careful. And be very careful not to put yourself in situations that can appear to make you look guilty. Okay? Be very careful. So, verse 19. And it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, and his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in prison. If the master Potiphar actually believed his wife, Joseph would be instantly put to death. If the Potiphar believed that Joseph tried to rape his wife, Joseph would immediately be put to death. There'd be no question about it. By virtue of the fact, notice what he did. He put him in the king's prison. He didn't put him in the regular prison even. He put him in the king's prison where the king's prisoners are bound. Did not put him to death. Put him in this king's prison because he had to look. He has to save face. His wife is accusing a foreigner of raping her. But he knows Joseph ain't do it. He knows that. He knows who his wife. Look, man. Most men, not all, but most men know their wives. And you know what she would do and what she wouldn't do, no matter what she tells you. Just like most women know their husbands. Okay? And if you know your husband and you know he's prone to do X, Y, Z, and somebody came to you and said he did X, Y, Z and he's denying it, you can know. So this man knew who his wife was. She was an adulteress, and he knew what kind of woman he had. And he also knew that Joseph was special. Joseph was a special one. So he wasn't going to put him to death. put him in the king's prison. But Yahweh was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. And the keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because Yahweh was with him. And that which he did, Yahweh made it to prosper. See, so they knew Joseph was special, and the Father was with him, even in the prison. Okay, even in the prison, the Father was with him, and he did nothing wrong. The Most High was, again, Joseph was a forerunner of the Israelite nation that was going to end up coming into Egypt, or Mizraim, in the land of Ham. He was the forerunner for them, being the one that was going to be the firstborn, the blessing of the firstborn. He was the forerunner. Praise the Most High. Now, chapter 40, interesting, is chapter 40, the testing, chapter 40. We're going to look at that next time. Genesis chapter 40. Praise the Most High. Joseph and dreams. Here we go. The Father had given him dreams, and now he's in the foreign land and he's dealing with dreams. Joseph and dreams. We'll talk about that by the grace of the Most High next weekend. Enjoy the rest of this Shabbat, especially being that it's the Feast of Tabernacles, a foretaste of our future Feast of Tabernacles, not too far from now. Praise the Most High. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, family.